Hey, Carl Gasso here. Welcome to video 3. I'm very excited. This is going to be a bit of a benchmark for the channel. So the first two videos, we talked about the retro card collection of the 2021 and 22 TOPPS Heritage Collection. This is going to be the first video that opens up vintage cards. Now, as I said before, I'm really interested in collecting things from the 90s, which is probably the worst decade to collect from. But for my own sake, it's the best because it's the decade that I grew up in. So our first opening is going to be this collection, this hobby box of 1996 Series 2 TOPPS MLB cards. And we may possibly have an opportunity to win an original Mickey Mantle card. Now, the little bit of research I did, I like to go in green because ignorance is funny, but the little bit of research I did was not all of the Mickey Mantle cards, from what I understand, were actually found in this set. So maybe, you never know, but that's not really why I'm collecting. For the video 2, I was pretty happy with it. As I said in video 1, the audio was very low. I was pretty happy with the audio for video 2, so I'm going to stick with those settings. Funny enough, the last video I felt it had gone really quickly, and even though it was basically just as long as the first video, part of the reason why it might have felt quick was because I actually missed an entire set of cards that were still in the box. And when I opened them up, nothing particularly fantastic, but the very last card was this Brandon Nimmo card, which, you know, I'm a Mets fan. Nemo's actually one of my favorite players. It would have been a very nice cinematic kind of thing to end on, but hey, a part of this is me learning, right? And what was the lesson that I learned? Make sure all of the content, all the boxes are out, all of the cards are ready. So, lesson learned there. Thank you, Nemo. Ultimately, between the two Heritage boxes, I gotta say, the 2021 cards, I think, were much better as far as them trying to be a retro collection. I think the 2022, they were nice, but like, if you were to just give me this, it being like a retro kind of throwback would not be the first thing that I would have thought of. Whereas this clearly is, you know, it's very 70s, right? It's got the stars and the red and orange and yellow. Like that's a very 70s-esque type feel. You know, I would have immediately clocked to this was trying to be like a throwback. So that was my take from the those two blaster boxes. This is my first hobby box, and so I'm just gonna get right into this. I don't want these videos to go on for like an hour. I don't think I've earned that yet. So I like, you know, these being, I think a 15-minute more or less is a nice little thing. So I'll try to get through these. I will get through all of them. I don't think it's good to just leave people hanging. So yes, so 1996, the reason why I'm specifically starting with this, other than this is the set I have that has the Mickey Mantle possibility, is that 96 was a big year for me in my life. I was 10 years old, and there was just a lot of things, and a lot of the things that happened during 96 kind of like defined me as like to who I was. And so I thought this was like the perfect year to, you know, really get into this. And ultimately what I plan on doing is I'm going to be opening up these cards, and I'll be reminiscing a little. And, you know, maybe for you guys out there who are of similar age, crinkle, we can both enjoy our nostalgia together. Now, I understand that this is done in such a way that I'm able to, you know, display it. I have an idea of how that works, but I'm not going to try just now. But I will look into that afterwards. I'm already ripping the box. Ooh, all right, wow. A real blast from the past. Here we go. Now, from what I understand, a lot of these 90s cards were very glossy. And over the years, they have actually ended up, I can actually feel it. They tend to kind of stick together. So I will definitely look out for that and be careful. So, all right, here we go. Now, 1996. What do I remember from 1996? Well, it just so happens. Oh, let's talk about the movies, right? We had Biodome. We had Black Sheep. Hey, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna open these up? All right, there we go. We had Titanic. That was, I guess, like the biggie, right? Striptease, The Rock. So yeah, a lot of big movies from that. One movie that was not particularly great, but was important. The hype was bigger than the actual movie. Was The Crow 2. And that was because I love the first Crow, so I was super hyped for it. But at the same time, it had this really great soundtrack. White Zombie did a cover of Boogeyman. So they were, I was really hyped for it, so that's what I specifically remember about. Like I said, the movie itself, not so good. Nothing compares to the first one, and I guess it's like aged very well considering all the other sequels, including the most brand new attempt to renew the series. So overall, but yeah. So the biggest thing about 1996, though, for me was music. I was really into music as a kid, and it just so happens that 3 of my favorite bands would put out what would be my favorite albums from those bands. And that would be Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar, Tool's Anima, and Typo Negative's October Rust. Now, right off the bat, you can wisely assume I was not I was a little bit of an odd 10-year-old. And that's very true. But and the one thing that at the time I was not into was sports. I kind of came into sports later on. And if these past 3 videos haven't been an indicator, obviously me getting into cards now of all ages, I'm 38. Yeah, clearly I'm not exactly I wasn't born a jock or anything. But ooh, it's nice. Would that be considered a refractor by people? We'll put that to the side. But yeah, so 96, really into music, and that was a big time for me as far as music goes. Oh, there we go. Jose Vizcaino, nice. Little Mets card. Okay, very good. So far, these seem pretty good. They're not they don't seem damaged. They're not really sticking together. So really good so far. Each of these packs have 12 cards. We have not gotten, these packs were not made to easily rip. So as I said, this is a big deal, this video, to me, because this is getting closer to oh, here we go. Got right here. Got a little, okay. They look good though. They don't appear to be damaged. This is getting into what I'm really interested in, where I want to bring this channel, which is really getting into talking about history, everything star power. This is like, that's like the close to kind of like the Kevin Smith's Dogma font almost. Not so much, but a little bit. Pro Perfects. Nice. Whereas, my entire life, I've really appreciated living. It's like I experience everything through history. And, like I said, as a kid, I wasn't a big sports person. Ironically, the two most important facets of sports, athleticism and statistics, was something that just did not exactly draw me in. I was more of the creative type. I wouldn't call myself, I wasn't like a goth kid or anything, but not that there's anything wrong with that. But, I definitely had, I was definitely just like a little bit of an oddball. And it took a while for me to understand and appreciate sports to the point where, like, I absolutely, I love them. I would say hockey for the longest time was my most, was my go-to sport. Oh, here we go. We got a few cards sticking, but they're okay. And then, baseball I started getting into a little later on. Actually, baseball was the one sport that I actually was in any kind of, I played in any kind of official way, which was my whopping 1 year of Babe Ruth baseball when I was like a sophomore in high school. But, that was, I look back on that and I appreciate that I actually, tried. I went all way out of my comfort zone for that. But, it was a really good time. And up to that, the only other things I did as far as sports was like intramural floor hockey and pickup games of roller hockey after school, things like that. So, that kind of gets into my actual attempts at athleticism. Oh, we got a little refractor thing. Is that right? Am I using the right word? Please let me know, or make fun of me, please, in the comments. But yeah, I want to keep this 96 centric, so I don't want to get too much into reminiscing about other years, because that's what other hobby boxes in the future will be for. But my father was a big New York Rangers fan. I remember them as a kid. That was 94, so I was 8. I actually remember the night that they won the Stanley Cup and how excited my father was. And then I actually also I remember watching the World Series in was it 1999 when the Yankees won. And again, my father, he used to work in the city. And here we go. Very nice. And he worked in downtown Manhattan. Oh, look at this. That's a double. Very nice. And so he actually took me down to the ticker tape parade, and I got to see them. So, I have these little, bits of memories that ultimately would account, as much I appreciated it then, but I appreciate it so much more now just because it was something. Because again, a lot of my life was not really hugely into sports, but I grew it. I appreciate them in my way, and I think that's really important. There's many different ways to appreciate things, and yeah, ultimately I wasn't the most athletic person, and I wasn't the most competitive person, but as a person who does appreciate the craft and the art of things, I definitely and then on top of that, I've also become quite the collector. So getting into anything collectible, especially these little bits of cardboard, is definitely up my alley. I feel like these are, yeah, okay. Star Power. We're getting these doubles. That's interesting to me. These all seem like they're in really, really good condition. As you saw, it was factory sealed, so ultimately a really good find. You're gonna notice, actually, so in the past few weeks I've been collecting these hobby boxes, and you're gonna notice that they're all series 2, and ultimately what that is about is I found that they were just the more affordable series, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I can only speculate that maybe people were they would maybe be more inclined to open up or actually keep their series 1s, and you know, by the time series 2 came around, like, they kind of had an idea of how the cards for that year were, you know, going to be, so maybe they just that's why. But in my experience, I found that the series 1s were, you know, more expensive. And once I got a few boxes in, I kind of just decided to stick with the theme. So a lot of these you're just going to notice it's from series 2. And I would, you know, if anyone wants to, again, we have these parallels. And so you're going to notice that these boxes are series 2, and it's kind of just like that kind of a sweet spot between availability and price. So I decided to just go with that. Other than Media 96 was it was a learning year for me. That was also the year, the one particular down note that I remember about 96 was it was the year that my grandmother passed away. But you know, even that was a learning experience, you know. Like, that was the first time I went through the whole process of, like, being at the wake and being at the funeral. Like, that was the first time as a kid that I experienced that, and I remember it. And you know, that's just the things that you go through in life. Oh, we got a couple of I like the idea of just letting the cards speak for themselves here and there. As I said, this channel is meant to be a chill channel. This is, you know, overall hobbies are supposed to be a relaxing pastime. I will, like I said, I do have plans for this channel outside of cards. You know, the cards are something that I'm just getting into, just like YouTube. And so to me, it's kind of an opportunity to grow and find my voice, so to speak. So by the time I get a few of these under, I'll be ready to talk about things that I'm much more knowledgeable about. Which is going to be nothing limited outside of I have collectibles that include like action figures, comic books. Particularly, like I said, I aim for things that are both vintage and retro, and a lot of that specifically around the 1990s. Nice. I'm kind of putting stuff in a special pile that I think may possibly be something. For the Heritage cards, the 2022, they weren't just the better looking cards, they were also yielded some more. I think they had the better cards in general between the two boxes. I'm not necessarily, like I said, looking for... Wow, a lot of these. Got a few of these now. I'm not necessarily looking... I'm not treasure hunting per se, but I'm also doing... I'm also doing this right. Like, I'm trying to do this smart. I am looking into and you know, actually seeing what I have. I wouldn't want to just, you know, never know that I have something of somewhat value. I mean, you know, it's not like I'm just going to memorize all of these old players. Ooh, a Mike Piazza when he was on the Dodgers. That's neat because I believe he's facing a Met here too, so that's cool. So I was talking about movies before. The one I was kind of saving that I think is particularly appropriate to talk about here was a movie that did not get as appreciated as it deserved to be. Had a great cast. It had Robert De Niro. Had Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes. It was about baseball. It was called The Fan. And it was a very interesting, it was like kind of a thriller. About Robert De Niro is a you know, it kind of reminds you of that movie Falling Down, where it's like a kind of everyday guy and he has his problems at home and he just loves baseball, and that's kind of his that's kind of like what keeps him centered. And Wesley Snipes is a player that it takes place in San Francisco, and Wesley Snipes is a player that gets traded to the Giants. So Robert De Niro is super pumped for it, and ultimately it leads to him getting kind of like obsessed with him, and so it becomes that type of thing. It's a great movie, and just the fact that it has the backdrop of baseball and the way they go about bringing baseball into it is really well done. And it kind of has that feel along the lines of like movies like Seven, you know, like that kind of like mid 90s kind of grungy type feel to it. Oh, we got two cards here. So yeah, I mean, if you're a person like me who appreciates kind of dark, like thriller horror movies and sports at the same time, well, you cannot go wrong with The Fan. I mean, I guess if there's any takeaway from this, that is a movie you should definitely look into checking out. Ooh, little Sammy Sosa, very nice. The cards sticking to each other actually have a nice little pleasant sound, so that checks off my ASMR box here. Are you guys getting tingles? Andy Pettit, very nice. noticed in the first video, the camera was kind of being shaky, and it's here too. It's just kind of how the setup is right now. Try to mitigate that in the future. Overall, the quality has been pretty consistent, and they're nice. So we really blew past the 20-minute mark. Hobby boxes are definitely a lot different from the blaster box, but that's okay. I think that this is going pretty well. Back when these shades were not like ironic, right? Now there's the pit vipers that go for hundreds of dollars. Hmm. It appears we have a Mickey Mantle card. It has a protector on it. Is this supposed to be, was this specifically the mantle that that they talk about? I'm not sure if this is like meant to be the specific mantle. I mean, it has this protector on it, so it's definitely something, right? So, okay, let's go. I don't, I'm not sure if some of these are supposed to be like autographed or not, but it looks like this is actually specifically maybe one of the things that they're referring to. I was just thinking to myself, this is already going over 40 minutes. But, nice. You know what? No matter what. That is a nice find. I'm not even sure if this hobby box specifically, if that was one of the drawers for purchasing it. Like, each box has one of these cards that they're talking about. But I will be looking further into this, and I will be reporting back. Hey, there's your incentive for checking out the next video. So I think that's, no matter what, that's pretty awesome. A part of me like loves the idea that there's someone who's like really knowledgeable of like these cards and are just like screaming like, oh my god, that's worth so much, or oh my god, that's worth nothing. Like, I just it's gonna be very fun to look into that and see if that's even anything. Doesn't want to. Okay, there we go. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Here we have another Mickey Mantle with this very nice protective coating on it. So, again, it makes me wonder what exactly... I mean, we went from not having any to all of a sudden now we have two. Right? So this is making things very interesting as far as like wondering what the deal is with these. I'm getting better ripping these. Wow, if anyone wants a Kent Merker card, let me know. I have quite a few of these at this point. From what I understand, from now that I remember, I'm pretty sure Scream came out in '96 too, which, you really see where my head's at. So if these YouTube videos are meant to be a learning experience, what I'm going to have to learn is that if I'm going to do hobby boxes, I'm just going to have to do a long-winded video. The idea comes to me that maybe I would do a pre-opening and, just discuss the cards that I found, some of the better ones. I'll talk about the, the teams involved. Ultimately, you folks let me know, if you like these longer videos, then by all means, I have no problem doing this. This is, what's fun for me isn't necessarily what's interesting to the viewer, right? So I would prefer to make something that's more entertaining, and to me, brevity is a soul of wit, as the some guy in England said once. So my idea is that, anything that's more shorter rather than longer is probably better. But if this is something that people are enjoying, then I absolutely will have no problem. I'll go for 2 hours. I don't care. It's what makes for a good video, which is ultimately what's most important. So these are other things that I'll have to take in consideration during my during this journey that you and are along the ride for. I was hoping to, in a few videos, do something more along the lines of something that I can give a little better commentary for. But I may actually, maybe I might kind of bring that earlier, maybe I'll make the hobby boxes something in between other videos, because to add variety, because I can be short-winded on talking about things that I have a very other than just opening up baseball card rip content.